Welcome everybody to our first NASCAR and Formula One edition of Sideline to Speedway, our motorsports show, if you will. I am your host once again, Mekhi Winfrey, joined by our other host, Parker Merrey. Parker, um, motorsports is taking over our lives since we were just wee lads. So we have a lot to cover in this episode. We got some playoffs with NASCAR. We got late season charges in F1. But is there anything before we get going here that you really want to talk about?
I'm just excited to get into it. You know what I mean? We have a lot happening in the motorsports world right now. The playoffs are kicking off in NASCAR. We have a tight title fight in F1. I mean, and honestly, we really we don't get a lot of tight title fights in Formula One these days. You know what I mean? We only get them every couple years. So like we really have to, sit here and cherish the moment that we're in right now because it may be 5, 6 years before we get another title fight like this. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out over the next couple of months, and even more excited to discuss that on the podcast.
Well, I'm not going to hold us up too much longer, so we're just going to go straight into it. Before we made the show, we always talked about our NASCAR predictions, me and you, especially the playoffs, right? We loved seeing which one of us would be right or wrong, or if both of us were wrong or both of us were right. We love talking about it. So I wanted to see, with taking it to the show, who the viewers think will be more right. So we'll put a poll down there and see who you guys think will be right at the end of all these predictions, or who's closer to being right. But without further ado, we'll start with you. Um, the round of 16 features Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol. Three tracks that are very, very different from each other. So, you know, first off, who was your first round eliminations?
So my first round eliminations are going to be Austin Dillon, Josh Berry, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Austin Cendric. There's a couple guys here that I don't think stand much of a chance to advance, and that is Austin Dillon and Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG needed he needed more playoff points ultimately. You know what I mean? The and it, because he only had like 16 points over the cut line. He's not for him to perform the way he is, he would need a massive buffer, like 40, 50 points. You know what I mean? Because like right now, it's just I'm not
Something's
feeling very.
missing. It's like missing
Yeah,
in the
I'm
car.
just yeah, something's missing in the car. So the only way he would make it is if he had a bunch of playoff points. And despite having 4 race wins, he still doesn't really have enough, I don't think, to get him enough of a buffer. Austin Dillon as well. They just have not been one of those clutch playoff teams. You know what I mean? The only thing that's really kept them in the conversation over the past 5 years has been super speedways and Richmond. If it weren't for those, he would not even be in the playoff argument. And so that team does not have the clutch gene to advance. And then the other two that I have out, two Penske affiliated teams in Austin Cendric and Josh Berry. I think the problem with the 21 team of Josh Berry, there's lacking a little bit of speed right now. You know what I mean? They won early on in the year at Las Vegas. Huge credit to them. They've already taken a big step up from how that 21's been performing the last couple years with Harrison Burton. I think that no matter what happens with the 21 team, I think they're going to be happy with the way the year went, winning a race on pace, making the playoffs. I think that's a huge accomplishment. And then Austin Cendric, on the other hand, would not be happy with being eliminated in the first round. This has been arguably his best year in Cup. And so in order
Low bar.
to yeah, I mean, it is a low bar, but in order to put the cherry on top of what's been a good year, you need to do something in the playoffs. If they get eliminated in the first round, it's just going to be another forgettable Austin Cendric type year. No one's really going to remember, his decent performances in the regular season. So they need to make a push in this first round in advance, and I don't think they will. These tracks are not great for Austin. They're going to need to come in with a lot of pace if they want to advance. So those are my first four out.
Before I give you my thoughts on your picks, I'm actually going to change up the format a little bit here. I'm going to give you my four eliminations, and then we'll see what our thoughts are on this. But I tend to agree most part. I think Josh Berry is the easiest first round exit I've picked in 3 or 4 years now, and it honestly isn't because of Josh. The
Easier than
21
Harrison
car.
Burton last year?
No, honestly, yes. Honestly, yes. And it's only because they don't have a super speedway in this round. But I would say this. I'd say Josh Berry has been very fast at points this year, but luck hasn't been on his side, and I don't see there being a reason for that to change when we get into Darlington, get to Gateway and Bristol. I mean, tracks that he can run well at, but I don't anticipate it. So I don't see much of a change from that 21 car. I just think it's inevitable that that team is out in the first round. Another car I'm not very confident in is the Shane Van Gisbergen 88 machine. There's no road course, right? That's the strong suit for
Yeah.
that 88 team. And without there being one, that makes him either have to rely on other people's misfortune or have to step up in performance. And nothing to me indicates, other than a couple top 20 runs here and there, that he's making that progress yet. Which I'm not saying he can't in the future, but we're in the now, and in the now, he's not doing that. So I don't have the 88 making it through. I think that their strong suit is Darlington. So if they want to be able to put a cushion, they have to perform well here, especially a track that catches a lot of these playoff drivers out, out in the water, like if as we could say. Um, Another one of these guys I have out in this first round, and this might be a shocker to you. I know you're a fan of him, Joey Logano. I don't trust this 22 car. I don't. It's a feeling in my gut. I know he's good at Darlington. I know he's good at Gateway. I know Bristol's obviously been a weak point for him in this section, but I feel like most Joey Logano fans have him making it through because he's so good at those first few tracks. I think that the inconsistencies over the last year and a half of that team, I think the fact that for Joker for not, it's not an even year. And I honestly think that just his compared to his teammates, he's shown the least raw speed. So I would argue that him being a first round exit isn't that crazy. And then lastly, I got to throw in there. This might be the biggest surprise. I don't have Tyler Reddick making it out of the first round. I think the 45 car was just lacking general speed all season. I think the 45 was consistent. I mean, they had what, 10, 11 top 10s by the end of the regular season, something close to that, right? They were consistent, but they didn't have any winning speed. And I feel like a team without bonus points, like Reddick didn't have, needs to have winning speed or at least close to it if they want to make a championship push or even a round of 8 push. So I think the 45 misfortunes leads them to a round of 16 exit.
Wow. So a couple of big names being eliminated in this first round with Reddick and Logano. I don't agree on the Logano take about him being the having the least raw speed out of the three. I don't I don't see how that can be valid. They've had a lot of bad luck this year. The biggest one that I can think of, and the most recent, was of course Richmond, where they had 2 tire punctures in one weekend. Neither had a cause, and I would say it cost him a victory. I believe he had the fastest car that weekend and just had to continue. And I stand by that
I
pick.
don't. I don't think so.
He had to recover from the back of the
But
field
Joey
twice.
Logano also couldn't get past cars once he got into the top 5.
Yeah, he did. He actually kept moving. He almost passed Ryan Blaney at the end. He in the final run, he went from 12 seconds behind to I think 6 seconds. Like he cut the
But
deficit.
everybody was catching Austin Dillon because Austin Dillon was in lap traffic, and they were on,
Okay,
on
but
older tires than everybody
Ryan
else.
Blaney was battling with Dillon for the win 50 laps earlier, and by the end of the run, Logano was on his bumper.
But I
Logano
think
had maybe not, I can't say the fastest car, but he had a car that was equal to,
he
if
had a
not better.
fast car. I'll give you that. Yes, he had a fast car. But I haven't seen that speed consistently. I've seen that speed 5 times this year. 5 times doesn't get you through this round. That's the same amount of times I've seen Josh Berry have winning speed. And that means nothing to
Merrey
me.
hasn't had winning speed 5 times this year.
I could think of Texas. I could go back to the first Darlington race earlier this year. He was obviously he won Las Vegas. He was fast at Phoenix. I mean, there's a couple races that Josh Berry was race winning contending at the start of the year. Joey Logano, now that he is talented, I'm not going to say that it's him. I'm just saying for one reason or another, that car has not had the winning speed that it needs to be able to move past this round.
It's I will say this might be a hot take. He has more, at least in the first half of this year, he had more raw speed than he did last year in the first half.
I'll argue. I won't even argue that. I think that's correct. I'd say that's right.
Because they just like at the beginning of this year, for example, they had a lot of fast cars, but just had the lot. Obviously, they were fast all the super speedways. Phoenix, they were great. Had issues there. Texas, they ended up winning, but then the other guy you have out is Tyler Reddick, which something's up with that 45 team right now. I am like you. I don't have a lot of confidence in them. They are legitimately the second team at 23-11 right now. The 23 team has been better the last couple months. So something is up right now. I'm not sure what it is. I think Tyler Reddick's a better driver than Bubba Wallace. I think Tyler Reddick, talent wise, is up there with the best. I just don't feel it right now with that team. I don't know what it
There's a
is.
disconnect somewhere.
Yeah, ever since the championship 4 race last year. You know what I mean? Something's just been a little off. They lacked a lot of pace at Phoenix in the biggest stage that team's ever been in, and since then they haven't had it. So something's up with that. I don't blame you for that. And then obviously we agree on the Berry and Gisbergen eliminations.
So we won't dwell on this too much. We'll continue to move here through our picks. I'll let you start off with the round of 12, guys. I will take these first round of 12 eliminations. One of them I have being is Austin Dillon. I don't think you're gonna have much of an argument with this, and honestly, not much explanation needed. The Charlotte Roval being one of the races is detrimental to that 3 car.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I don't think that there's any world that with that race in the round that they make it out of it. Another car I have being out in this round is the one of Ross Chastain. Um, I know that a lot of people are 50-50 on him, right? There are a lot of people who were like, he'll turn it up in the playoffs. He always does, right? And there are a lot of people who were really, really hesitant on this one car because they're like, well, Ross Chastain hasn't had speed really since May. But I would say that come playoff time, the biggest drivers, the best drivers, they come and show out. And I don't have a reason to believe that Ross Chastain can't do that because the only time that he's really looked slow in the playoffs was 2023 when Trackhouse as a whole was having one of their worst years. So I think that I can confidently say Chastain makes a round of 12, which is a good starting point to rebuilding this team again for them. Um, 2 other eliminations I've got in this round. Austin Cindric. He's not even been bad. I think around a 12 this season is honestly one of the better seasons they've had, and it equals his rookie year, right? I mean, he's basically doing the same thing. So nothing bad. He's obviously the third car at Penske. He's the third driver. I think that's pretty evident to most people who watch. So around a 12 is good for him. Um, Here's the bombshell. I have Denny Hamlin out in this round. Uh,
Yeah.
the 11 car has been quite inconsistent when we get to the playoffs, right? Every year, it seems like they take a step backwards. I think ever since the 2021 championship loss, which that is a huge confidence affector. They were chasing down Truex, could have won that championship, and that would have been Hamlin's first, which is very important in this case. Obviously, the late race yellow that ended up getting Larson the pit strategy or pit stop that got him out front and win the championship. That haunts Denny. 2022, he missed it to one of the greatest things I've ever seen with the wall ride at Martinsville.
Yeah.
Then in 2023 is a little further back, 2024 even further back. So I think these constant steps back in the playoffs, plus last year and 2023 having really inconsistent speed in them, that leads me to believe that Denny Hamlin's going to be around a 12 exit. Plus, the Charlotte Roval is not one of his strongest tracks.
hmm Yeah. So a couple things with Denny Hamlin. He's getting older, and when you get older, you don't necessarily get faster. So I think that could be a reason for the struggle. And I think another thing is I believe that he's one of the drivers that has been affected by the next gen race car. Denny can still have his days where he's really fast, but he hasn't made the Final Four in the next gen era. The last 3 years of the Gen 6 era, he made the Final Four each and every year. So I think the common denominator here is the car change. You know what I mean? How can you go from 3 years of making the Final Four to 3 years of missing it? I think that the car change has played a
Inevi-
big factor.
Inevitably, actually, you know what? I'll let you give your thoughts, or I'll let you go give yours before I give thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, and then so yeah, you have Ross Chastain out as well. So Hamlin and Chastain both round of 12 X's for you, and I can't really argue with either of them because I think I could see both of them struggling in this round. The one team, as we know, they have not been good since their Final Four appearance a few years ago. They have not made the round of 8 since then, so just something's not clicking right there. Trackhouse team not very strong, and honestly, of the 16 teams in the playoffs, the Trackhouse is one of the weakest. You know what I mean? I would take every team above them
Except
except
RCR,
for
probably. Right.
yeah, except RCR, and you know, and maybe
The
the
Wood Brothers.
Wood Brothers team. Yeah, but yeah, I don't like that team right now. And the 11 of Denny Hamlin, it's kind of crazy that he has 4 wins. It does not feel like he has 4 wins this year. I'm gonna be honest,
I agree.
but it just something's not there with that team either right now. You know what I mean? It feels when you go into the playoffs, you either have it or you don't. And right now, the 11 team, I don't think they have it. But that could change. We'll see. Denny Hamlin's never really been a playoff type driver, so I don't see them getting better in the playoffs. I see them getting worse. So I don't blame you for that elimination. And then of course you have the Austins of Austin Centric and Austin Dillon, both of which I had out in the first round. So I really can't argue much with those picks either. But then going into my round of 12 eliminations, this is where it gets really dicey for me. I have a lot of big name drivers out, the first of which being Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has been on fire recently. He's been, you know, is there an argument that he's a top 5 team and driver in
Yes,
Cup right
yes,
now?
there's a big argument. He's been the best car since July, honestly. Honestly, I will say that. That team has been
Mm,
rocket fast.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a serious argument for them to be top 5, but unfortunately, I don't trust them. I just don't. Wallace has not made a round of 8 in his career. He made the round of 12 in 23, right?
Yes.
That's the furthest he's made it. So I haven't seen it yet, and I've seen times where this 23 team looks great, and then they don't get it done in the playoffs. However, I will say this is the best that they've looked for sure, and the best that they felt. Bubba as a driver, it feels like he's more confident than ever. I feel like ever since that Indy win, he's just been a different driver. He had a great drive at Iowa. He's been fast at every racetrack since his win. He's been fast. Richmond, if he doesn't have
Tire failure, tire
that tire
problem.
failure, he
Or,
may very
yeah.
well have 2 wins coming into the playoffs. So I like that team a lot right now. But again, and this round can be very tough on them. You have a road course in there, which that's never really been a strong suit for Bubba. He's come a long way on road courses, I will say. There's been a lot of improvement there, but I don't trust him there. So I have him being out. I have Ross Chastain being out for all the reasons I stated earlier. Don't like the race team. Tyler Reddick, I also have being out in this round, who's similar to the one team. Something's not clicking right there. You know what I mean? I think they're going to be out in this round. And then the last guy I have out in the round of 12, this one's going to be a big shocker. A lot of people have him in the Final Four, maybe even winning the championship, is Chase Elliott. No, it's a
A lot
big
of people
one.
who won't like that.
Yeah, a lot of people won't like it. The number 9 team is all about consistency. All right. They're not about
But
winning
with Chase
races right
Elliott, but you could say consistency leads you to these Final Fours. I mean, you could say that. I mean, Ryan
now. I
Newman in
don't.
2014.
So consistency leading you to a Final Four is not true at all.
Ryan Newman, he didn't win a
Consistency,
race.
consistency. That was okay. That was 11 years ago, and that's almost the only case of consistency getting you in, because in the modern day era, most of the time that you're going to get 3 playoff winners in the round of 8. You're
William
only going to have
Byron
room
2
for
years
one
ago.
guy on
Yeah.
points.
All right, go ahead.
But so yeah, just consistency. It could get you to the round of 8, but what makes teams click in the playoffs is winning. And Chase Elliott has not won a non-super speedway race.
Other than
He's won
Texas.
one non-super speedway race since his injury at Texas. How about that? That is a
I
lot.
think a better stat is that he's only won since the 2022 playoffs, if I recall correctly. He has one non-super speedway win. The
Mm-hmm.
2022 playoffs, which is 3 years ago.
Yeah, Nashville. Since Nashville of 2022, over 3 years ago, he only has one non-super speedway win. That team they don't win. They're very consistent, but this is not the Winston Cup era anymore. You know what I mean? They would have been great 20 years ago, but it's not 2003. You got to win races, and I don't think that team is cut out to win races right now. So I don't see them getting through very far. And I think if you look at the 8 teams that I do have making it, which you can kind of tell through the process of elimination, you could argue all of them are just raw quicker than the 9. Maybe not Logano. I just think the 22 team will step it up in the playoffs. But the 48 team, they've been better than the 9. You know what I mean? So I have guys like Bowman getting in over Elliott. So I have to have Elliott out in this round. I'm sorry.
All right, so I'll dissect yours first. I actually don't have too much to disagree with on this front. I already had Reddick out, as I said, and I had Chastain out in this round as well, so not too much for me to argue on either of those cases. I gave you my argument a little bit there for Chase Elliott. I think again consistency is good enough to at least get you to the round of eight. Final four gets hard, but I think getting you to the round of eight, you can be a consistent driver. Ryan Newman, even in 2019 in the Roush car, we saw what he almost did with that team. That was impressive. So, I mean, there's
Yeah,
just,
they were good.
or the, sorry, did I say the nine? I mean the
But he
six.
was he was a first round exit.
Yeah, yes, but either way, he was consistent enough to be in the round of eight. Point is, but I can see what you're saying there. And then Bubba Wallace is the one I really disagree with. Not because I think Bubba Wallace is a top eight driver in general, but I think that team has been clicking on every single cylinder as a speed standpoint, right? I think Bubba Wallace has been a really consistent driver ever since we hit the summer. I think Bubba Wallace also just tends to step it up in the playoffs, even when he's not in the playoffs. I could point at multiple different cases. In 2023, everyone had him out in that first round, and then he shocked everybody when he made it through. Even in 2022 when he wasn't in it, won a playoff race. I know that the 2022 playoffs were a little bit here and there, but I still think that's worth noting. So I would put money on Bubba Wallace actually making it through to the round of eight, like I did have that happening.
You'd put money on it.
I'd put
Real
money on
cash.
it.
Real cash.
You
Okay.
want to put real cash on it?
I will put real cash on it right now. You know what I got?
What do you got?
Got a crisp hundo right here.
Crisp 100.
Bubba Wallace does not make the round of eight. Put it on the hundo.
Do you want to put 100 on it?
Yep,
We'll,
I
we'll,
do.
we'll put 100 on it.
All right. 100 on it has been put down. All right.
But go ahead. I'll let you pick apart my.
All right. So, well, I don't, I've already kind of dissected your picks. I don't have much to disagree with, honestly. You know what I mean? The 11
Yeah.
team, not very strong right now. The one team, not very strong right now. And then the Austins are just kind of weaker links of the playoffs that I both have out in my round of 16. So I don't have much issue with that. I'll lead us into the round of eight, though. This is where things get really tough, get really tight. And, if we were talking about Chase Elliott having to win to get to the round of eight, this is where
You need to
guys
win.
really need to win. You'd have to win to
You
get
want to
in the
fight for a
final.
championship in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where then you definitely have to win. But in this round of eight, the first team that I have out is the 22 of Joe Logano. If this was an even year, they'd probably find a way to get into the playoffs. But it's an odd year, and um, you know, I don't really believe in curses or those superstitions. But this Logano thing is the craziest thing ever. How he makes it. It's been going for 11 years now. He makes it every even year, misses it every odd year.
And it's a
It's
beat.
it's insane. So he will be out in this round. It's going to happen. Um, I just don't. I don't think they have. They don't have the speed of the other eight teams right now. They just don't. And I think honestly, I think they need to get a new car chief at least for the regular season, but I guess they're more than happy with tanking for 9 months. You know what I mean? They won a title last year after
Makes it
tanking.
really hard as a Logano fan, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I can't tell what they're going to do in the playoffs because nothing matters for 9 months. They'll run 15th all regular season, and they'll do it by design. They don't need to win in the regular season, but I don't see them making it this year. The second driver I have out, this is a big one. A lot of people consider him to be their championship favorite. I have Kyle Larson out in this round as well.
It's rough.
Look, Kyle Larson has been. This could be a hot take. I think there's an argument that they're the fourth Hendrick car right now.
What?
Yes, I think
No.
there is an argument for
No.
that. The
No.
24 is for sure better.
Okay,
The
yes.
48 has been better.
I'll
Now
let
the
you
9
have
is
that.
the 9 is consistent, but they don't have
I,
the speed of the 5 team, but the 5 does not have anywhere near the consistency of the 9 team.
Kyle Larson has scored more points than Chase Elliott ever since Mexico, or since not Mexico, like the last 5 races. I'm pretty sure.
The 9 team's been more consistent. Okay. How do you honestly
Who
How do
steps
you
it up more in the playoffs?
Well, no, I'm not saying that
Uh,
as a driver, Larson is better, and I think I have him going further than Elliott. But what I'm saying is there's an argument that they've been the worst Hendrick car over the last couple
but I still
months.
think that's ridiculous.
I don't think it's that
I, I think
ridiculous.
I think people are overstating how bad he's been since the double. I don't think he's honestly been that bad. I mean, I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, but Kyle Larson, I at least looked at it, has like 5 or 6 top fives since the double that he did, and that we've ran 13 races since then. That's like half of them. He's been in the top five. I genuinely think he is being overstepped as to how bad he's ran since then. Honestly,
It's not necessarily that they've ran bad. They've also had a lot of bad things, like bad luck. You know what I mean? But to me, it doesn't. And that stat of 5 top 5s since 13 races, I almost don't believe it. It just doesn't sound right.
I'll pull it up while you're.
You can just tell that team's not clicking. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying it does not. They do not feel like they're ready for the playoffs right now. So I have them out. And then the next driver I have out. It's been a great run, but I have to have Alex Bowman out
Mm.
in the eight. This is a tough one because, as I said earlier, I think they're the second best Hendrick car right now. And Alex Bowman is proving himself as a top level cup driver. This has been a great year for him. They've had a lot of bad luck, and yet they're still right there in the top 10 in points, and at least in the regular season points, yeah. But they have a lot of speed. I just don't think I don't think Bowman as a driver has it yet to make the Final Four. I don't think he's as just a pure talent. He's him and Briscoe are tight, but in this round of 8, he's arguably the least talented as a driver. So I don't think he has. I don't think he quite has it to get in the Final Four yet. Now this could be a building block year for them. You know what I mean? Maybe next year's their year to get in the Final Four. But I don't think Bowman and his fans would be at all mad with a round of 8 elimination. That's the furthest he's ever made it in his career. 2020 he made it to the round of 8 as well. The furthest he's made it in the 48 team. How about that?
Yeah.
The final guy I have out is actually got you out in the last round. I have Denny Hamlin being eliminated in this round.
Yeah.
Yeah, this again, kind of like I said for you, I don't like what I see out of the 11 team. They've yet to make a Final Four in the next gen era as well, which you could say, yeah, okay, they're due to make a Final Four, so they will make it this year. But I'm not. I'm just not feeling it with them right now. So yeah, I have him out, and he will not make the Final Four for the 4th year in a row.
All right. Well, I'll read you mine and we can talk about our picks here. But in my round of 8, I'm gonna start with the obvious one. I do have Bubba Wallace out this round. As much as I love the 23 car, and I do think that they are very fast right now, the championship 4 typically consists of drivers who can win in that round at any given moment. And not that he can't, but I have not ever seen him win multiple races in a season. And until I see it happen, I will not believe it will happen. Um, I want to. I want to. I love Bubba Wallace. I want to have the hope that he can go and do this and have a championship season. But I think I need to see just a little bit more winning out of that team and consistency on pit road. I know they're technically ranked as the second best pit crew, but every time they're on the screen and we see their pit crew, something's going wrong. So I need to see more consistency out of that pit crew if I want them to move on. Another driver I have out that we just talked about, Chase Elliott. Um, you know, I don't think that uh, Chase Elliott is necessarily a bad driver. I think that him being in this round is a good season, considering how consistent he's been as the 9 driver. But I think that Hendrick is lacking 4 cars of power, so uh, I think that Chase Elliott will have to just fall out in this round. He just doesn't have the winning speed that he needs to have. Um, Chase Briscoe. I know you haven't said his name yet, and I know why you haven't said it, and I know why a lot of people are high on this 19 car. They look really, really, really good at the end of the regular season, right? Obviously they got that huge win at Pocono, and they look just stupid fast going into the playoffs. But I've seen this story before. I've seen where Joe Gibbs has 3 really, really good cars, and they all try and go fight for a championship. I know how this story ends, and it never ends with the Joe Gibbs championship. So I'm just saying I don't think that Chase Briscoe has the consistency in the playoffs as good as he is in them, and I don't think he's better than any of the drivers that I haven't listed yet when it comes to fighting for a championship. And this last one out, I know is going to sting for a lot of people. Christopher Bell. I do not have a Joe Gibbs car going to fight for a championship this year, and
Wow,
there is
that's
one sole reason I have this pick happening. I don't believe that Christopher Bell believes he's going to win the championship this year. And I know that sounds like a crazy statement to make. I know that sounds crazy.
mean.
I think what I mean is the demeanor has changed on the racetrack. He was always known as being this driver that you don't want to be racing around because he will do what it takes to get by you, right? Not like he won't wreck you, but he will make an aggressive move if that means getting in positions. I haven't seen that out of him. I've seen a way more laid back, almost don't care type driver out of him, and it's uncharacteristic to me. And I think missing the playoffs in the final, or excuse me, missing the Final Four last year is huge. I think that that year when they were destined to, it felt like, to win the championship and not being able to have a chance at it, I think that killed their confidence and the momentum.
So I actually think that goes the other way for the 20 team. Um, I think that of all the drivers in the playoffs, they have they have the biggest chip on their shoulder. They have to. 2022, they made the Final Four, and they had that slow pit stop at the end of the race that took them out of contention. 2023, he made the Final Four again. 50 laps in the race, has a brake failure, and his championship hopes are done again. 2024, as you said, looked like his year. Everything was going great for him. He goes into Martinsville, has that whole controversy that we're not even going to get to. We're not even going to talk about it at Martinsville. Knocks him out. He doesn't even make the Final Four. He I think he comes in with a chip on his shoulder, and with how good he started out the 2025 season, winning all those races early, I don't think I think it shows that it wasn't like a loss of confidence after Phoenix. I just think that they won early on in 2024, and they're maybe applying the Penske strategy of like, okay, we're in. Let's just use the rest of the regular season as experimentation. It's something they've never done, but maybe they're like, okay, we've failed the last 2 years. Let's try the strategy that's winning by tanking a little bit.
My other argument to that, though, is where have they been since March? Like, I understand the idea of tanking. Like, right, you get to this dog days in the summer, you want to tank, save your equipment, but that team literally hasn't been on track, it feels like, since March. They won at Phoenix, right? They won their three in a row at Atlanta, Coda, Phoenix. But I feel like, other than a couple incidents that he's been in, I haven't seen Christopher Bell on the racetrack. And it's not like he's been bad. I don't say this as in like Christopher Bell's running terribly. I just say this like Christopher Bell runs eighth, it feels like every week,
No, I
which
see what you're saying. It's always in that like fifth to tenth
he,
range.
he just runs eighth. And it we talk about Chase Elliott needing to win. I need to see the winning speed again out of Christopher Bell if he wants to go make a championship push. If they are sandbagging like that, we're like you're hypothesizing, then I'm on board. I think that they can, but I don't think they're sandbagging. I think something's missing. I think it's either confidence, maybe it's a teams thing. I don't know. I'm obviously not in the 20 crew, but as a spectator, they have not been anywhere close to winning a race since March.
I think what I think it could be, the ever since at the beginning of the year when Bell was winning all those races, Ty Gibbs was awful, like barely in the top 30 points, awful. Chase Briscoe wasn't off to a hot start either. It was all Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. Towards the second half of the season, we've seen a shift. All of a sudden, Chase Briscoe looks like the top dog, and Ty Gibbs has also been performing really well and has looked like he's kind of resurging his season almost. Um, what did he end the year? 17th in regular season points, I think.
18th, maybe 17th,
I don't,
18th,
I
right
don't
around
know,
there, around
but
there with Kyle Busch. But
he
yeah,
made a big push. If there weren't so many winners at the end of the year, he could have had a chance to point his way in. So I just wonder if there's just kind of ever since Bell won all those races, Joe Gibbs is like, okay, they're not the focus. We need to get these other cars in the playoffs. I wonder if it might be a little bit of that. But um, let's talk about your other eliminations. You also have Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe both being out in this round of eight. So for Chase Elliott, I think we're kind of in agreement on here. The speed is just
nothing really
missing.
to debate.
Yeah, but with Chase Briscoe, um, so you say that you've seen this story before of Joe Gibbs having the speed and being eliminated. You know what story I've seen before? I've seen it a couple years now. Chase Briscoe being one of the most silent, he's a silent killer when it comes to the playoffs. Last year, 2024, he was not in anyone's radar all regular season. Goes to Darlington, wins the race. He's in the playoffs. He makes it all the way to the round of 12, and then has that unfortunate DNF, which keeps him from advancing even further. They had something that year. You know what I mean? 2022 as well, the first year of the next gen car. They
They
won a race early on.
somehow made the round of 8. I don't even know
Yeah,
how
he
they
made it
did
all
that.
the way to round of 8, even though he was not a round of 8 caliber driver. He just steps it up in the playoffs. That is a playoff driver, and he's been doing it in some pretty bad equipment. Now you give him a Joe Gibbs race car, I think he's going to light up the world in the playoffs. And I have him obviously as using the process of elimination. I have him in my final four, but you have him out here. I think either way, he's a round of 8 lock in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I
I
don't think
don't
there's
think
an
he gets
argument.
eliminated earlier. So I can't argue with you too much on him at least making it to the round of 8. I just think he makes the 4. And you have Bubba Wallace out, which that's tough. I have him out a little earlier. I know that's a hard pill to swallow for you to eliminate him here. I know you want him in that final 4, but I think as we both seem to agree that this is not quite the year. Maybe next year, but not this year.
Um, yeah, I don't think I have much to argue on that Bubba Wallace thing. I mean, I already gave my thoughts. Looking at your picks, okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on most of these. Logano, I already had him out in the round of 16. I don't think there's much of an argument for me here. Denny Hamlin, same thing, had him out in the round of 12. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Kyle Larson, I see your argument. We already touched on it. I won't really sit on it too much, but again, I think that Larson is just better the farther we get. If he can get to the round of 8, I just think he's better as a driver than most of the drivers can say in that round. So that's my argument there. And Alex Bowman, who I know I haven't said, but again, using your process of elimination, um, I had him in my final 4. I'm
Yeah,
not going to argue you, honestly, because I think that getting to the round of 8 at this point is just an accomplishment for that team with how they've ran most of the year. So I won't argue you, although I'll give you my reasoning here as we go into the final 4. I'll let you have the suspense of saying your champion. I'll go mine first. Um, Fourth in my 4 drivers, I personally have Kyle Larson. And I know I just hyped up the fact that he gets better in the round of 8. I don't trust the fact that they're going to show up in Phoenix specifically with a championship running race car. Even when they won the championship, they were not the best car.
exactly,
You could argue they were
exactly.
the worst car on track actually in the final 4 that year.
Hmm.
Um,
Easily.
2023 he was the second best car. Well, from what we got to see at the end of the race, he was the second best car of those 3 that were left. I think Larson not only needs to make the final 4 this year as a statement, remind everybody he is the best driver in NASCAR. I think he needs to make it for himself to prove that he is still the championship driver, that he is still the guy to beat. I think that he needs to do that for himself, for the fans, for the team, everybody. I think that's why, although I don't have him winning it, I think making it again is just a statement in itself. I'm not going to touch much on Alex Bowman, but a great year, making it the Final Four for the first time. I don't think he has the speed as enough to compete with the other 2 drivers who I haven't named yet at all, as we've been talking about the playoffs. Um, I just don't think he has the speed overall to compete with these guys. Between William Byron and Ryan Blaney, my 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion will be William Byron. And I'm a Ryan Blaney fan saying this, so I promise you I'm not biased here. The problem with William Byron versus Ryan Blaney is that we have seen this story before, right? We've seen Byron, and he always comes up short to Blaney, it feels like. We saw it at Iowa last year. We saw it at the Coke 600 a couple of years ago. I'm just pointing out races. Even Blaney beat him, actually, on that Darlington race. Well, earlier this year, he was going to beat him until we had the overtime. Um, so there's just examples that I could point out to
And the
you.
champion, literally the year Blaney won the
Yeah,
championship,
beat
he
him for the
beat William
championship.
Byron.
Yeah, and he beat him at Martinsville last year. So I could just and the year before, there's just so many there's instances. But I think that this 24 team is destined to win the championship solely because they've been the only team this year to have 0 flaws, no problems. They've had weeks where they're not the best car, where they're not a top 5 car, but those weeks are like every 8 weeks, and I find that hard to believe that coming into the playoffs that where Hendrick knows they got to step it up, and especially with Penske already doing so, I think that they really want to get Byron this championship so that he is equal to his teammates Elliott and Larson.
Wow. So you do have Byron winning the championship. Um, so, I feel like arguing this would kind of give away my championship pick, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So you have Kyle Larson out, which I think it's so interesting that you brought up the 2021 race, because that's something that I think about a lot. Is like, if it weren't for his pit crew, the one of the most dominant seasons in the last 15 years goes to waste. You know what I mean? His pit crew bailed the car out. The car was not good that day. And then of course there was that one restart where he got that damage, which really helped out as well. Gave him some good side bite. But yeah, I don't think that they have quite the speed, especially at a track like Phoenix. That's really not been their kind of track. So I agree with you on that. Yeah, Bowman, he's not going to win the championship this year. Everyone knows that. He's been great this year, but they're not quite there yet. Next year is the year that he couldn't take the next step to being a title contender. And then between your champion William Byron and your second place Ryan Blaney, um, it's tough to see a Penske car losing the championship at Phoenix. It hasn't happened in the next gen era yet. It hasn't. So this would be unprecedented territory. Um, the reason I think it's such a compelling argument that a Penske car does not win the title this year is the fact that just got waved at. Is the fact that they've won 3 years in a row. What are the odds that they win a fourth year in a row? I feel like they're very low. That would be incredible for that team, if they could win four consecutive and still keep a 100% winning rate in the next gen race car. That would be incredible. So it's like, let's say Christopher Bell won last year's title. You know what I mean? Not a Penske car. I would be a lot more inclined to say that that Ryan Blaney wins the title this year. You know what I mean? But it's just that this is the numbers game. The numbers are against them. So yeah, I do like the pick, and they have been the most solid team for sure. I definitely agree with that.
Seems to me like you spoiled a little bit that Blaney is not winning your championship. So, of your remaining three, who do you got?
All right. Or of my remaining. Yeah,
I
well,
got
yeah.
yeah, three.
Yeah. I have Blaney being second in the championship. I don't think he wins it this year because of the numbers game I just discussed. My fourth place guy is Chase Briscoe. Um, Chase Briscoe, it's kind of the same with Bowman. This is not their year to win a title. I don't think it is. I think next year is going to be the year for Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is he as I said earlier, he has that clutch gene, but he's also kind of like a forgotten about talent in NASCAR. You know what I mean? I think we forget how great he was in Xfinity, and then he moved up to Cup. Immediately got put in an awful SHR ride, and people kind of forgot about how good he was. Now that he's in a Gibbs car, we're seeing him thrive and have a career year, and I just think it's so great to see. But I don't think they win the title. So then between Christopher Bell and William Byron, who do I have winning the championship? I'm going to have Christopher Bell taking the title. William Byron will come home third, despite having, an incredible year, best driver in the regular season. There are a couple trends that have been happening in the next gen era. We talked about the Penske one. Another one is the best driver in the regular season has yet to win a championship. You know what I mean? And so, is this year the year that gets broken? We'll see. William Byron would be the guy to break it. I don't see it happening this year, though. I think Christopher Bell, like I said, he has a chip on his shoulder. This this needs they need to win the championship to keep team morale up, to keep the confidence up. And I think the reason that they really need to win it is he needs to establish himself as a top driver in that race team. You know what I mean? The last couple years, you had an older retiring Martin Truex Jr. and then a young Ty Gibbs on the team. Christopher Bell was solidly the second priority at Gibbs. Now, with Chase Briscoe getting really good and Ty Gibbs starting to improve a little bit, you wonder, how much longer is Christopher Bell going to be the priority at Gibbs? They're going to have to shuffle around the equipment. You can't really have four fast race cars anymore.
It's hard to
So,
do. Very hard to do.
yeah, yeah, this needs to be a big year for Bell to continue to prove that he needs the number one or number two support at that team. And so I think that It's not necessarily a must win for the championship, but I think they really do need to win it. And I think he does succeed and finally wins that championship that's been eluding him the last few years.
I'm not gonna honestly sit here and argue because I think once you get to this round, it's the best of the best. Whoever wins it ends up winning it. I don't think it'll be Bell. I think that again, as I said, there's something missing there, but I see why you would go against Byron. Trends tend to go that way, and Bell by process is your best driver available. So I would say that's a fair pick that I just will have to agree to disagree with you on. Um, but what the beauty of this podcast is we are recording this after Darlington happened. So
Yeah.
we kind of have a little idea of what's going on right now. I don't want to spend too much time reviewing Darlington, just so that we make sure we get to everything we need. But
Oh yeah, let's clarify for the viewers. We made these picks before
yes,
Darlington.
this was before Darlington. I would not have picked it exactly how I did, knowing this info. But I will stick with my picks. Real quickly, I just want to touch on a couple things. First off, wow, was I wrong about Tyler Reddick? Yet again, every time I doubt him, I doubted him a couple years ago, I doubted him last year, this year. Every time I doubt him, he proves me wrong. So good for you, Tyler. Uh,
It is just one race.
it is just one race, so we'll
He
see.
could crash on lap one at Gateway, and then
I
we're
feel like
back to
that's a
square
I feel that's a reference to Josh Berry. Uh,
one. And Reddick was actually involved in that
yeah, he
crash.
was
That's the
involved in
crazy.
the wreck.
The moment that crash happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, Kai's first round, it looks beautiful. And then Reddick drives away fine, and I'm like, what? How does that even happen?
That's crazy. I don't want to spend too much time on
He
that
got so
though.
lucky with that. He got way
Yeah,
too much glaze for that. The wall saved him.
he didn't save
Okay.
himself. Yeah, he kind of got pinched up against the
Yeah,
wall.
he
He
just
got
like went up
lucky,
and hit the wall.
but she
Yeah,
did all night anyway, so it didn't really
yeah.
matter. Um, I'll touch on a couple of the drivers. Chase Briscoe. I mean, he led what 307? Is that it?
Hey, that
300,
Final Four pick's looking real good right now after
307
that.
laps. I'll give him credit. That was a fantastic drive. I really thought Eric Jones was going to steal that race at the end for both of them there. Um, Bubba Wallace looked quick. Blaney and Bell, before their damage, both looked decently fast. They looked like top 15 cars, at least top 10 maybe for Bell's case. So they looked solid, right? I don't know if you disagree with anything I've said so far, but um, Barry, he wrecked on lap one. He was a non-factor all day. The three qualified well, didn't run that well. SVG did SVG things. Chastain was fast. The other two drivers I really want to touch on real quick from Darlington is that the 22 and the 48. Um, I'll
Yeah,
start with Logano real quick. Logano didn't even look slow, but he looked off compared to where he usually runs at Darlington. I'm not saying I expected him to go win that race, but I expected a top at least 10 car. Like I expected him to run at least eighth all night, and we
it's the
just
worst car they've had at Darlington in the next gen era.
it just genuinely weren't there.
Yeah,
He was 15th best, maybe 13th all night, right? 13 to 18
yeah.
it felt like all
He
night.
got up to 12th, but it was by everyone else having pit road issues.
A lot of things had to go right. So overall, not a bad night for them. Like in retrospect, they came out of it all right, but it's a little scary to be on that uncharacteristic at one of their best tracks, especially with Gateway coming up. I would not be happy with that as a Logano fan. And lastly, I want to say Alex Bowman. Wow, that 48 was nowhere.
Yeah,
They qualified horrible. So did the 9, but the 9 made it up a little bit through the race. But the 48 was horrible. Just qualified like 29th, ran 30th all night, was multiple laps down. Somehow got to the lead lap at one point, was then back a lap down. That team was just terrible. Finishing in the mid 20s was a fantastic result for how bad that car was. They seriously need to turn around at one of their worst tracks being Gateway, and hopefully at Bristol they can make up more points too.
hmm yeah. I'm really not sure what happened with Hendrick on that last run of the race. Um, Both Larson and William Byron fell off a cliff, and we have no explanation or reason why. There was no tire difference. I almost wonder. Elliott didn't really have that issue. Elliott moved up a few spots at the end.
The only
Bowman
car to
really
do so.
what?
Only car to do so.
Yeah, but Byron and Larson lost each like 10 spots. I don't I don't understand what was up with that. Because in the next gen car, you don't really see that. You don't see um, cars just fall off a cliff like that on the long run. If they hadn't done it earlier in the race, and they hadn't, those cars had both been solid top 10 cars all race. So why at the end of the race do they suddenly fall off like that? I don't know. I don't have an explanation. I wish we had some inside info. But so that was weird. That was the worst. Um, when was the last time there was a non-super speedway race with all Hendrick cars outside the top 10?
Probably Gateway. It was probably a Gateway race. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a hot minute. So
Um,
that was very uncharacteristic of them, very strange. Um, but great speed out of Chase Briscoe, great speed out of Tyler Reddick, and I do actually want to touch on a non-playoff driver. If the next gen car, let's say this was a Gen 6 race, Eric Jones wins that race, I believe. At the end of the race, he was the quickest car. He caught both Briscoe and Reddick, and actually, with about 5 to go, he had a chance to pass Briscoe around the outside. I don't know if you remember this. Briscoe was trying to get around
or no, Reddick was
Reddick
trying
on
to get
the
around. Reddick
or
was trying to get
sorry,
around
Reddick was trying
Briscoe.
to get around Briscoe on the bottom, and Jones almost swooped around the outside, but then he had to slam on the brakes to not hit the wall. That was Jones' moment to take second, but he couldn't quite do it, and that kind of ruined his race. But um, I think it's crazy to see. It's just that's just one
LMC's
of the.
really
It's like
fast
Austin
too.
Dillon at Richmond. It's just one of those tracks where Jones has always been good at his entire career.
Only the
So
Southern
I'm not
500.
what.
Only the Southern 500, not in the spring. Don't worry. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
for time's sake, we're gonna just real quickly move to Gateway because I do want to get my thoughts on that. Okay. Going into this race this weekend, pressure is mostly on the 48. I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, what about the cut?" It's on the 48. You know why it's on the 48? Because Alex Bowman has to prove that he is not the weak link at Hendrick. He has to go prove that he can go compete with his teammates. Not because he has to win, but he has to be fast enough. Because he's, what is it, 17 point? I think him and Barry are 17 below.
Something like that.
Barry was expected. SVG running around the cut line expected. Logano has been inconsistent. I guess for most people that was expected. Most of these guys, they expected this, but Alex Bowman was not an expected driver to run north the cut line. So I think it's a big race weekend for him. I also think it's a big race weekend for Bubba Wallace, and I only say that because if Bubba Wallace can go out to one of his weaker tracks and perform, that shows the true speed of that 23 car and how deep could they possibly go.
Mm-hmm. So what I need to see at Gateway is obviously speed out of the 22. It's one of their best tracks, and they're right on the cut line. Obviously, I need speed out of the 48. Um, but I'm also going to be interested to see. I need to see Hendrick kind of rebounds. You know what I mean? Because
As a
when
whole,
you have a race, what?
as a whole,
Yeah, Hendrick as a whole. So when you have a race like Darlington, you need to rebound, and usually Hendrick does, but they we don't see any top tier organizations have races like that in the playoffs. Darlington is a great track for William Byron and Kyle Larson, and neither of them all night long. Neither of them had very good pace. Byron was his top 5 pace was deceptive because it was once he lost the clean air, he could never get back up front. Whereas guys like Hamlin, who lost the clean air, they still rebounded to a top 10
7th or
finish.
whatever he got to.
Yeah, and then Larson was not very fast all night, which is super weird at Darlington. So, we need to see a big rebound out of them. But do we want to do race picks for Gateway? Do we want to pick a winner?
I'll give you I'll give you 3 predictions. I won't even give you thoughts. I'll just give you 3 predictions. I think the winner this weekend is going to be. I'm giving it to the 12 solely because I
That's what
think
I was gonna say.
I
Why
would
are
say
you stealing my
no, no, no. But I'm giving it to the 12 because they have been too close to not win this race. They have been. They just have to win this race eventually. So I think the 12 is the consensus pick here. Um, Shout out to Austin Cindric. This is one of his, if not his best track. So he could actually surprise a lot of people and win this race and advance to the round of 12. Um, the other 2 predictions I just want to make real quick. I think we're going to see a struggle out of the 22. And I know you hate to hear that, but I only say that because I just think going from Darlington, a good, strong track for them, and not being strong at all while his teammates ran top 10 all night well, most of the night, was a warning sign. Warning sign. So I would say that. And then the last prediction I'm going to give you, I think Bowman digs himself a little bit out of that gap. I think he'll still be in the negative when we go to Bristol, but I think he will help his case a little bit considering who's on the cut line right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's my prediction.
So, okay, so a prediction I'm going to make, since you kind of stole my Ryan Blaney pick, a Penske car will win this weekend. It could be Blaney, could be Logano, Might even be Cendric for all we know, but Penske's been the
Josh
best team.
Berry. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not even going to count that out because we've seen crazier things happen. A Penske car will win. They've been the best team here. Logano's finished top 5 here every year. Cendric had his best. Can we just go ahead and say it? His best career race last year at Gateway?
No,
That has
absolutely.
to be, that has to be his best career race, at least at a non-super speedway. And then Blaney would have won that race if it weren't for now you could say um, the only reason he
I'm blaming
passed
fuel.
Cendric. Yeah, the only maybe you could say the only reason he passed Cendric in the pits was because they didn't get enough fuel in. So maybe Cendric wins anyway. But either way, he was right there with Cendric all race. So Penske's going to be great there. I think one of those cars is going to win. But I think SVG is going to struggle. I think it's a slippery slope for them.
And I think Austin Dillon needs to show another top 15 run if he wants to make a round of 12 push.
Yeah,
That's the last thing I want to say.
We can just eliminate Dillon. He's not going to make it.
Sorry,
Austin.
Sorry, Austin Dillon. All right. Not too much to actually comment on here at the end of this show. We got F1 real quick. I don't have much to say about the Netherlands race. I just want to comment on it's a bit of a concern that McLaren had an engine failure for only one of their cars, and Piastri has looked fine all season. I think that Norris needs to go out and win Monza to get himself right back in this fight, which is one of his best tracks, by the way, so I wouldn't doubt him doing that. In fact, I'll just combine my thoughts here. That is my prediction. I think Lando does go win Monza.
Okay.
I think Piastri finishes third, actually. I think Verstappen ends up somehow in second. But yeah, I think that Norris really needs to rebound after having a mechanical problem at Netherlands. Also want to comment on Hamilton. Wow. I don't actually have much to say, but just wow, that's unfortunate. Same for Leclerc. Ferrari just had a disaster weekend, and Antonelli has just got to clean it up a little bit. Just got to clean it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree with most of what you said. There's a fact that's been circulating over this past week about Lewis Hamilton.
Does it happen to be a Ferrari fact?
It is a Ferrari fact. He now has the most races without a podium for a Ferrari driver ever, which is, and it's not like this Ferrari car is even that bad. They're second in the constructors title. And it's not like Lewis has been bad either. He has just as many points finishes as Leclerc.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been able to break the barrier to get third. It's the craziest thing ever. Something is just not clicking with them right now. I don't know if I'll put it this way. I don't think it's because they're waiting for 2026, because Lewis Hamilton looks way too dejected for this to just be, oh, we're just waiting it out till next year. They're giving it their all and they're struggling. It's just what's happening. Carlos Sainz is not even half the driver Lewis Hamilton is. He slid right into that Ferrari team and looks way closer to Leclerc than Hamilton does. So he actually beat Leclerc in the first year. Now, obviously, there was some circumstances, but he beat Leclerc the first year. Lewis isn't even close. He's 40-something points behind. Now, I know you love Carlos Sainz. So you probably hate that. But anyway,
British media will try and tell you he's as good as Nico Rosberg, by the way. Just absolutely absurd.
Absolutely
absurd.
Devious.
Absurd.
Absolutely devious. We're talking about a world champion who beat Lewis
let's not get on this tangent.
Yeah,
we'll be here for a bit.
We could get into that. But anyway, yeah, so something's up with them right now, and that engine failure is big, man. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people that are not happy with the difference of reliability, how Piastri has not had an issue like that all year. How does that just happen? Is this the 2016 Malaysia incident for the McLaren battle? It may very well be. Piastri is how many races are left? 6 or 7?
I think it's I think it's 7. I think it's 7
races left. I did not mean that.
I'll fact check it, but I think it's 7.
Okay, 7 races left. Piastri, it's not. So in 2016, it was 4 races left for Rosberg that he was just able to coast home in second. Piastri's not going to quite be able to coast. He still needs a win or two, but the road gets much easier for Oscar Piastri.
Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And then my favorite news of the week is, because it's my favorite F1 driver, Sergio Perez, back in Cadillac. Let's go. And Valtteri Bottas as well. But
Wow,
I'm so hyped.
that's not fair to Valtteri. You just gave him no emotion right there.
The
Valtteri
bias
Bottas.
is showing, bro.
I will say this. We have seen this battle technically before between the Mercedes Bottas and Red Bull Perez in their first year for Perez at Red Bull. Bottas did win that battle. You could argue the Mercedes had the better car for more of the year, but I think it's worth mentioning. Just saying.
I don't even think it's worth peeping about
I think it's worth
because
mentioning.
I
I
don't
guess
think
you could
it's
say new regs. I mean,
okay.
whatever.
So a couple things about that. I think the Red Bull was better than the Mercedes that
Also,
year.
we're wrong. It's 9 races left. Sorry.
Oh, never mind. Okay, this title's not over. Okay,
Yeah, they got
Piastri
Monza,
cannot go.
Baku, Singapore, Coda, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi.
Dude. Okay, this fight's far from over. Then you can easily make up the gap in 9 races. Without Piastri having an issue. Piastri could finish second every race and still lose the title. But anyway, back to the Bottas Perez thing. It's kind of a different conversation, but I think it's worth having. The Red Bull car was consistently better than the Mercedes car throughout the year. So that plays into Bottas' favor that he beat Perez. But as we know about the number 2 Red Bull seat, it's a pretty bad seat. You're not going to go in there. You're not going to beat Verstappen, and you're really not going to touching him. And another thing is, there also was Perez's
Year in the Red Bull.
first year in that Red Bull car. So
Bottas
I
has been
think
there
the
for what,
odds
5 years? Yeah.
yeah, the odds were stacked against Perez. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. Now, I think something we should talk about is who we think is going to be the number 1 driver at Cadillac, because this is 2 of the greatest number 2 drivers in F1 history that are now facing off. Do you
Mark
disagree?
Webber.
Well, I didn't say they're the 2 best. I'm
Okay,
saying
all right.
they're 2 of
Yeah,
the
you're right.
best.
Fair enough.
And Weber, I think, was actually
Don't
Weber
don't
was
whatever.
another.
If you're gonna say something that's gonna get you canceled, I think you should hold your tongue there.
What do you think I'm going to say?
I think you're gonna say Mark Webber is worse than Perez and Bottas.
No. I think he's closer to a number 1 driver than either of them.
Oh, okay.
If Mark Webber wins that 2010 title, it's very possible that he has the confidence and the backing to challenge Vettel in the coming years. It's very possible.
Anyway, back on point.
But yeah,
I'll answer your
back to
question. I'll answer your
yeah.
question.
Okay.
I think the number 1 driver will be Perez, only because I think there's more of a chance that Bottas retires after the year. I really don't see him wanting to stick around much longer in F1. I think it's more likely that he retires than Perez, and I think Perez also has more to give at this point. Being that he was at Red Bull, he was teammates with Verstappen, it gives a lot more feedback. Bottas' last teammate was Guan Yu Zhou. So, I mean, difference in talent there.
I think Sergio Perez smashes Valtteri Bottas this year. And you know what?
Wow.
There's a couple reasons I say this.
Yeah,
There's a
go
couple
ahead.
reasons I say this. I don't think it's because Perez is that much better than Bottas. I just think I don't know if Bottas has much left to prove. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, Bottas to me, I feel like he's content with his career. He's almost going in. I don't sense that fire under Valtteri Bottas. Sergio Perez was one of the most disrespected drivers we've seen, and now that now that we have more data and we've seen other number 2 drivers in the Red Bull, it adds even more fuel to the fire. Perez. Now we're seeing Perez really wasn't the issue. He's going to come into Cadillac and he's going to want to smash Valtteri Bottas to show that I'm still a fantastic driver. I think he's going to. I just think you're comparing a driver who still has everything to prove against a driver who
has nothing
I think
really
is
to
going
prove.
in for fun. Yeah, Bottas, I think this is more of a fun, cool thing for him. Bottas loves racing. He gets to come back and he gets to have fun racing an F1 car. Sergio Perez is fighting for his reputation right now.
His
So I
job,
think
you could say.
yeah, he's kind of fighting for his job. So I think he's going to smash Bottas next year. I see Perez performing great in that Cadillac seat.
The last thing I will mention before I kind of send this off the show here is that I want to say, on behalf of every person, you should be sending a sorry or apology if you were slandering Sergio Perez in that Red Bull, at least to a certain degree. Now, I'm not saying he performed his very best in that Red Bull, because there were definitely things that he performed, or there was definitely days he performed that were subpar. But we've seen Lawson, we've seen Tsunoda, we've seen Albon before him, we saw Gasly before him. No drivers even come close to that. Albon actually is the only driver even there who scored a podium with that team, if I'm correct.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
says says more about the rest of them than it does Perez, I will say.
Yeah. And you were one of those people that was slandering him. So
No,
I
I
want to
did.
hear an
That
apology.
is
I want to
why
hear an apology on stream for
you want to hear.
everyone.
All right.
Formal, very
I
formal.
apologize to Sergio Perez because I unfairly slandered you to a certain degree. I still think that there are times you could have performed better, but I will send you my apology because I think you were wrongfully hated to a certain extent. So, my apologies, Sergio Perez.
I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, we're
I think
satisfied with
he will
that.
be as well. Let's DM this to him.
We'll,
Let's see if
we'll,
he's
we'll
happy
DM
with
this to
it.
him. Uh, with that, I'm also satisfied with our show today. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I think that's about it. We're gonna have a fun weekend this year at Monza, or this year. We're gonna have a fun weekend. What am I saying? We're gonna
Fun
have a fun
weekend.
weekend with Monza. I'm excited for that. Not super excited for Gateway because that's an awful track for racing. But,
We'll see.
at least it's a playoff race.
So, with that, thank you guys so much for stopping in for our first motorsports edition of our podcast. Hopefully, we'll see you guys back next week for football and motorsports. Both episodes obviously being posted same days and times. So, without further ado, I've been Mekhi Winfrey. This was Parker Merrey as well. Thank you guys so much for stopping by on Sideline to Speedway, and we will catch you in the next
Thank you.
episode.
Bye, everyone.